All right, we ready?
Yep.
All right, pleased to be joined now by Stacy Lewis. Stacy, welcome back to Pelican Golf Club. Just what have you made of the course so far, and just what are your overall thoughts heading into the week?
Well, it's a great track. Played 9 holes yesterday, got to check things out, and similar to past years, not as much wind this week, which will be kind of nice. But yeah, I'm excited to play. You know, I've had, I guess, about 4 weeks now since Solheim, and really have had 2 weeks to actually work on my golf game and be home for 2 weeks, which hasn't happened in a while. So I'm excited just to see where things are at, and definitely feel better about my game than I did, you know, a month or two ago. So just excited to kind of just be able to focus on golf right now.
How was that process going from captainship into trying to kind of bring back your game and now competing again?
Yeah, I mean, playing after Solheim was not ideal. Game was definitely not there. But just more, I needed rest. I needed some time. That week really took a lot out of me, physically and mentally. And so just needed some time. And I figured I hadn't been home for a full week since like July. So just needed to unpack the bags and be settled for a little bit.
Absolutely. And then, you know, while we're on the topic of Solheim, you know, we've had a couple of weeks to reflect on that experience. Just what have been some of the bigger takeaways from that week?
Oh man, there were a lot. I mean, as a captain, it's exhausting. I thought it was hard as a player, but it is exhausting as a captain. You know, thinking about how the girls played, I mean, the girls played amazing golf. I hate the finish. I hated how it finished because I felt like they played good enough to win, and I think they felt like they played good enough to win. But definitely kind of had some proud moments where, you know, to see Angel win a couple weeks later after that, which it was such a big deal to her to get over that hump, and just to see, you know, some of the girls come out of that playing really good golf it's kind of like a proud mom moment almost, you know, of like, I wanted the girls to get something out of that week other than just go represent your country and play Solheim Cup. Like, I wanted them to actually learn something about themselves, learn something about their game that helps them going forward in their careers. And I felt like we did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now looking ahead to 2024, do you expect a lot of changes on your team and how you set that up?
Yes and no. I mean, there's definitely some changes to be made. I think there are a lot of things we did that worked, but I think there's some things we still need to look at, like tinkering with. Team-wise, you know, I think the players themselves will be pretty similar. I think you could see 2 or 3 maybe shift around. And I want it to be competitive. I want that decision to be harder for me than it was this past time. And, you know, just going to keep tracking the players, but things are definitely easier right now. Doing it for the second time, there's not as many calls going on right now, not as much planning because, you know, most of that's already in place.
Absolutely. And then last one for me before we open it up, just, you know, you talk about balancing the captainship and playing. Just how much are you planning on playing next year?
I'll still play as much as I can in the U.S. Probably not going to do the Asia stuff, the long travel, just being away from my daughter and my family. You know, I can't do that like I used to. So that's going to change my schedule more than anything for next year.
Absolutely. All right, we'll go ahead and open it up.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Hi.
So you were mentioning that you hated the ending. Are you actually going to like start a campaign to try to create a playoff system, or do you feel like it should just stay the way it is?
I feel like it should stay, unfortunately. Just now you have a precedent. There's history to it. I think it'd almost be kind of weird to change it. And I also think that's a lot on 1 or 2 players to make them go play some golf and decide this thing. Yes, it'd be unbelievable TV, but I think now you got to stick with history.
And then on the subject of Lexi, who's just had this incredible turnaround, can you just give us some insight into what you saw early week in Spain that looked so different to prior weeks?
You know, it was pretty. I talked to Lexi in Cincinnati, and I told her that she was probably I was just going to play her in best ball. And I said, not because of how you're playing, but more, I want you to gain some confidence. And so I want you to be able to play your own golf ball, because I feel like alternate shot, it puts a lot of pressure on your game. And so told her that in Cincinnati, it would have been on Wednesday. And the kid just took it as motivation. You know, I think there's other people would have taken it and been mad, and she's not going to play me. I'm only going to play 2 matches, you know, and been mad about it. But she took it as motivation. and just worked on her game. And just the golf shots she was hitting, you saw something different with her driver. Her driver has kind of been her thing that hadn't been as good. And she's starting to hit driver more, which I think that's how Lexi's played her best golf. And so it was just, I didn't see her play a ton of golf early week. It was more what everybody else was telling me. And also we had statistics on how the strokes gained during their practice rounds, and her numbers were off the charts. And so just, you could see some confidence in her. Her teammates had confidence in her. It was, the girls were coming up to me and telling me how good she was playing. So it was just, I kept hearing it and I kept hearing it. And then finally on Thursday, I was like, we got to make a change. So it was Thursday afternoon with, what do they have, 3 or 4 holes left in their practice round. I went to her and Megan and said, hey, can you guys figure out golf balls for alternate shot? And they said, sure, no problem. And by the time they got to 18, they said, we're good. And I said, okay, you guys are going out first tomorrow. And they said, okay. And that's literally how it all happened. It happened within a span of an hour. And truthfully, it fired the team up. When I went in that team room and told everybody that Lexi and Megan were going first, I can't tell you the words that were said, but everybody was fired up and ready to go.
And then there's one last one on Lexi. I don't know if you had a chance to watch her play at the Shriners at all on TV. You did.
Yeah.
Obviously that was the 69 in the second round. A lot of positive energy from the men out there. How do you think she can carry that momentum into a week like this week?
I hated, all the people that said she was going to play poorly or why is this happening. I knew she was going to go out there and play fine. I mean, you're playing in the desert where the ball goes further anyway. And on a golf course that forced her to hit driver a lot, which I think is good for her, because a lot of golf courses we play, she can't hit driver on. So it takes that aggressiveness out of her. So I wasn't surprised to see her play well. I wish she would have made the cut. I think that would have been such a cool thing for her. But just, just seeing herself hit good golf shots under pressure. I'll tell you this about her statistics is her putting has actually been really, really good, and her ball striking had been the thing that had been holding her back. So ball striking numbers are getting better. The putting's already been better, and then that's how this good golf comes from. So, I mean, we could see it. You could see it coming. And so I don't know. I hope she can just learn from that moment and that stay aggressive with driver, even on some of these shorter golf courses.
Thank you.
Stacy, you have a unique opportunity with the back-to-back Solheim Cups. As you look back at the last month or so, are there already things you want to tweak a little, or did you feel really comfortable with the formula you had?
Felt very comfortable. I was very happy with the way things went. As far inside the team room, there's definitely some little things we'll kind of clean up and change. I still got to get, I thought we did a very good job in alternate shot as far as the way the girls played, but we got to work on best ball a little bit. That's still something I think we got to work on. But yeah, the formula was there. The statistics work. I know I talked about it like crazy, but it worked and it was right. And it provided a lot of guidance for me to trust my gut, to trust what I know about these players. That was the hardest thing for me that week, was just to really keep trusting my gut and trusting everything we had worked on. Because it was easy to say, oh, so-and-so maybe didn't have a great day today. Should we sit them? And it's like, no, we're going to stick to our plan. And we did that.
The 4-ball is stuff you do every day. Is that, you think you might have to work on foursomes, for instance, but
yeah,
how do you work on that as far as, is it a pairings thing? Or?
Yeah, it's a pairings, but it's also a mentality. I think the girls have to understand, we need them to go play the way they always play. And not try to say, oh, let's keep it safe and keep 2 balls in play. It's like, no, I want you to play aggressive. I want you to go out there and make birdies. And I think, too, if you look at the makeup of the 2 teams, especially in 23, the Europeans were probably better in the 4-ball format, and we were better in foursomes, just on makeup of players and style of play. Right. So I think that was also part of the switch there, I think, in the points.
And I'd ask you one finally on your take on Gainbridge backing this parity week, where there's 3 events, is almost $13 million, I think, in purses. You've spoken about this at KPMG before. What What's your thought on what they've done this week?
I mean, I think it's tremendous. You know, these big events like this, they push our other events to raise the bar. And, you know, our goal, let's see, we had a meeting last night. I mean, the number of events we have over $3 million that aren't majors compared to 2 years ago. I mean, I think we're over double where we were 2 years ago. So events like this, they raise the bar. And it's a great week leading into CME to an even bigger purse, an even bigger stage. So women's golf is moving in the right direction. It's just we need more people like this to continue to step up.
Before we continue on to ANNIKA and Pelican and all that, I got one more Solheim question for you. Just as the season, you know, is whittling down, you're looking ahead to 2024. Do you have an idea of when you're going to start looking to solidify the team?
Yeah, so we've talked, and we'll do the points. We'll cut off after the AIG Women's Open, and we'll do picks as well after that. We've got to figure out, obviously, how and where we'll make the picks. But it'll be, we have 2 weeks in between basically that and Solheim Cup. So give us enough time to get everything ready and include a major in there too.
Perfect. All right.
Obviously, a lot has been made this week about the namesake of this tournament. In a broader sense, how important is it for the LPGA to maybe have its own version of an Arnold Palmer Invitational or a Byron Nelson or to honor their legends?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to have history involved in the current game. You know, I think it's important for these girls to know the players that have come before them. I mean, unfortunately, everybody knows ANNIKA. You know, she has so many junior events, college events now, that a lot of these girls that are, you know, a couple of years on tour, they've met ANNIKA multiple times and they know her. So, I mean, I wish we had more of them, to be honest, because I think there's a lot of players that played even before ANNIKA that we probably haven't done a good job of honoring. So while I like this week, I think there needs to be more of it.
There was once a tournament for Betsy King. There was once one for Nancy Lopez. I think Kathy Whitworth, even though it wasn't named after her.
Right.
You mentioned kind of the generational thing, but in your mind, who, either before or after, might be a really good next candidate to have a tournament in honor of?
I mean, you could pick a lot of them. I mean, Julie's probably the first person that comes to mind. You know, she'd be a great host for an event. You know, I think, you know, Kathy was on that event in Dallas, but unfortunately I don't think we're going back there next year. So we're kind of losing that connection. I mean, you could think, gosh, any of them, you know, and I think what the best part is, like, too, you get ANNIKA in front of these sponsors that they remember seeing ANNIKA play, right? You know, so I think, you know, that's an important part of it, too, is just being in front of the sponsors and the sponsor getting to understand the history of the game and where we've come from to where we are now and what we're trying to do and push women's golf forward.
A lot of these women out here got an early exposure, as you mentioned, ANNIKA, through either her junior event or a college event. Who was the LPGA legend, perhaps, that you met first and maybe had a starstruck moment?
For me, it was probably, she was still playing when I came on tour, but Kari, and I got to play a lot with Kari, she's a friend. I've gotten to know a lot of them pretty well, actually, that I could call right now and they'd answer. To Meg and to Beth and Betsy, Nancy, Judy. I mean, you could name a lot of them. And I went out of my way because I wanted to meet them. I wanted to know the history of the game. I wanted to see what made them successful, how they went about their business. You know, I learned a lot just from playing practice rounds with Kari of how she went about her day. So there's just so much knowledge there that that I wish this current generation would think about taking more advantage of.
What do you think it is about this golf course, besides the grass, that suits Nelly and Lexi so well?
Well, Bermuda grass, number one. I learned that from Solheim Cup. I think it's the length of the golf course more than anything, because there's some holes that, especially when it's windy, that are into the wind that are very long that they can take advantage of, and they can carry some cross bunkers and things like that. And also the height that they hit it high, which is a lot of these elevated greens, which is, you wouldn't think is good in the wind, but on this golf course it is good. But I think a lot of it's just the familiarity of growing up on this grass. The surrounds of these greens are very tricky. So my husband, their SEC championship is coming here next April. And so my husband was asking what type of shots they could work on and to help get his team ready. And he wanted to know, how they could simulate this golf course at home. And I was like, you can't get grass this tight in Texas. So, so I don't know how they're going to practice it. So it's really, to me, it's the surrounds of the greens is what makes this place so tough.
Thank you.
And then we just have one more over the Zoom. Alex, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, go ahead and ask.
Hey, Stacy, can you hear me?
I can.
Hey, Stacy, it's Alex with the Course Life podcast. I interviewed you at the top of the year at the PGA show. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Very good. It's great to have you here this week at the event. I know from the time we spoke at the top of the year to now, it's been quite a whirlwind of a year for you. I think you're finally going to have a moment to maybe decompress before we rev up the engine for 2024 Solheim Cup season. But what are the off-season and holiday plans looking like for you and the family?
Yes, things have slowed down tremendously, which is great. We will, we got a couple little trips planned, do a few things, and December is really going to be pretty light for me, other than phone calls and trying to, plan some Solheim things. We'll be working on that through the off time. I'll be back. I'll play that first event in January and, really play as much as I can in the U.S. next year.
Awesome. Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you.
And then Babs, last one.
Just following, curious to get your thoughts on, does the goal remain to play on your own team next fall?
Say that again, sorry.
Does the goal remain to play on your own team?
No.
No.
After experiencing Spain, I really don't think you can captain and play.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one day of the entire week that I actually sat down and had lunch. Every other time it was my car driver, Megan, was just handing me half of a peanut butter sandwich. Eat, and it's just, those, as I think, and I wanted to be on the first tee for when all the players were going off. That was something that I had seen captains do in the past, and I thought that was important to be able to see everybody before they go off. And so because of that, those morning matches finish, and then there's basically probably about 20 or 30 minutes before those next matches are starting, and then you finish in the evening, and you've got an hour to get pairings in, and then they want you to do media, and then you come back, and all the team has now eaten dinner, and they want to go to bed, so you meet with the team, and then it's 9 or 9:30, and it's, I get to eat dinner now. So, and then practice days, we divided up practice a little bit where they could play more when they wanted to. So some played early, some played more like around noon. And so that just, which I think is great for them, it just made my day a lot longer. So there's definitely no way to captain and play.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.